Elon Musk, a name the world knows for rockets, revolutions, and restless ambition. But behind the noise of engines and applause, there's a man who has carried too much in silence. A man whose heart has wandered through galaxies of loneliness, even while building bridges to the stars. Elon has given the world innovation. Yet somewhere between success and solitude, he learned that creation often comes with a quiet kind of pain. This is not about Mars or machines. It's about the spaces between the nights, where dreams echo louder than voices, and love feels like a distant planet still out of reach. He once said that the hardest part of the journey isn't the work, but finding someone who understands the gravity of your soul. Tonight, you'll hear the side of Elon the world rarely sees. Not the genius, not the billionaire, but the man who still believes that somewhere, beyond time and circumstance, love is waiting for him. This is his confession, his letter, his truth, whispered through the stars to the one he's been waiting for. Elon Musk, a name that echoes across galaxies and headlines. But before the rockets and the noise, there was silence, a boy staring at the night sky, wondering why stars felt both so close and impossibly far. He didn't just dream of reaching them. He dreamed of belonging somewhere among them. He built worlds where others saw walls. He touched the edge of the impossible and called it home. But creation, as he would learn, is not a gift. It's a wound disguised as wonder. Every invention took a piece of him. Every breakthrough left a shadow behind. Because to reach that high, you must first walk through darkness no one else can see. He remembers those nights, the hum of machines, the glow of monitors, the silence of empty rooms. The world celebrated his brilliance, but few saw the exhaustion that followed the quiet ache of building something greater than yourself, while slowly losing parts of yourself in the process. In the pursuit of progress, Elon learned what few dare to admit, that genius can be a lonely companion. There's no applause when you're staring into the void of a problem only you can solve. No comfort when your dreams outgrow the people who once understood you. Somewhere between the launch pads and the headlines, he realized the higher you climb, the thinner the air becomes. He used to think purpose would fill the emptiness, that if he built enough, gave enough, changed enough, the void would quiet. But it never did. The silence always returned, heavier each time, reminding him that even stars burn alone. He often wonders if creation is simply the soul's way of reaching for love, to build something that answers the question you can't put into words. Will anyone truly understand me? Perhaps that's what he was doing all along, building bridges between galaxies, hoping one day someone might cross them and finally see the man behind the machine. There are moments when he stares at the rocket trails dissolving into the twilight, and for a heartbeat, he feels it, the weight of everything he's built and everything he's lost along the way. The hands he couldn't hold, the nights he traded for dreams, the laughter replaced by the echo of engines. Elon once said that if something's important enough, you do it even if the odds are against you. But what he didn't say is that sometimes the odds aren't against your success, they're against your soul surviving the journey. And yet, he continues, because purpose, once awakened, refuses to sleep. Somewhere in the starlit silence, he still feels that same pull, the heartbeat of a boy who once believed that changing the world was the only way to be seen by it. But now, older, quieter, he knows the truth. The stars he chases are not just in the sky. They live in the spaces between people in connection, in meaning, in love that endures when the engines stop. The world knows him as a builder. But before he built rockets, he was just a dreamer, searching for belonging. And maybe, just maybe, every launch, every sleepless night, every flame that kissed the sky, was his way of whispering to the universe, I'm still here, don't forget me. There comes a point when the applause fades, and the echoes turn hollow. For Elon, that silence was louder than any rocket he had ever built. People often imagine success as light, blinding, constant, pure, but they never talk about its shadow. The moments after a launch, when the engines go quiet, and he's left alone in a room full of noise that means nothing, The text messages stop, the laughter fades, and all that remains is the hum of his own mind, a universe too vast to rest. He's surrounded by people, yet untouched by presence. Surrounded by voices, yet deafened by solitude. It's the paradox of brilliance. The more you're seen by the world, the less anyone truly sees you. There are nights he walks through empty hallways of glass and steel, the reflection of his own silhouette following him like a ghost. He wonders if progress demands isolation, if the price of vision is the loss of warmth. He's changed the world 1,000 times, but he still struggles to change the quiet ache inside him. He remembers the times he tried to speak his truth, the moments he wanted to say, "I'm tired, I miss being human." But in his world, vulnerability is a language that few understand. People want the dreamer, not the man. They want the myth, not the heartbeat beneath it. The world called him unstoppable, but what they didn't see were the pauses, the still frames between movements where he'd stare out a window at 3 a.m., wondering if anyone else could feel how heavy existence can be when you carry the future on your back. He's built cities on other planets, but sometimes can't find a home within himself. He's reached the stars, but struggles to reach the person standing next to him. And every success, no matter how brilliant, ends the same way, with him sitting in the aftermath, staring at the glow of achievement that somehow always feels a little bit cold. He used to tell himself that it was worth it, that solitude was the tax of greatness. But lately, even the stars he once loved feel distant, like old friends he's lost touch with. He wonders if humanity's greatest minds were always destined to walk alone, if solitude is the only language God speaks to those who dream too big. There's an ache in him that can't be fixed by creation, a hunger not for success, but for connection. He's realized that the silence he feels isn't around him, it's within him, the kind that lingers even when the world is cheering your name. Sometimes, in the middle of his laboratories, he catches himself watching the machines work, the rhythm of wires, the pulse of algorithms, and for a fleeting second, he envies them. They do what they're made for. They don't question meaning. They don't feel the ache of wondering whether purpose can coexist with peace. The truth is, genius doesn't shield you from loneliness. It amplifies it. Because when your mind lives in the future, your heart struggles to survive the present. And so, Elon carries on, half man, half echo, walking through the silence of success, haunted not by failure, but by the question that has followed him through every lifetime of invention. What good is reaching Mars if you can't reach the soul beside you? There was a time when love felt simple. Before the launches, before the headlines, before the weight of the stars began pressing down on his shoulders. Elon remembers her, not her name, but the feeling, the warmth that reached through the noise, the light that slipped through the cracks in his armor. She wasn't part of his plans, but for a brief moment, she became the quiet he didn't know he needed. In her laughter, he heard something more human than all his machines combined. In her eyes, he found the reflection of a man he almost forgot existed, not the visionary, not the engineer, but the boy who once stared at the stars and believed in love more than in destiny. But love doesn't always survive the orbit of ambition. When you chase eternity, you forget the fragile beauty of now. He told himself he was doing it for the future, for humanity, for her, for the generations that would walk on Mars. But what he didn't realize was that every step toward the infinite took him further away from the one soul who ever made him feel at home on Earth. There were missed calls, postponed dinners, promises made beneath the hum of rocket engines and broken beneath the weight of deadlines. Love, he discovered, has its own physics. When one heart accelerates too far, the other eventually drifts out of range. He still remembers the last time he saw her. The look in her eyes, not of anger, but of quiet resignation. That kind of silence that doesn't scream, it just accepts. She told him, "You're not losing me to another person. You're losing me to the sky." And she was right. He didn't know how to stop chasing it. After she left, his world didn't collapse. It expanded endlessly, terrifyingly. He filled the void with noise, the whir of engines, the countdowns, the applause, but no matter how far he reached, the silence always followed. Sometimes, late at night, he still catches the ghost of her presence in the soft hum of machinery, in the flicker of a screensaver, in the reflection of city lights on glass. She exists now, not as a memory, but as gravity, invisible, constant, pulling him back to the moments he left behind. He wonders if she ever looks up at the same sky, if she still traces the stars he once promised her. Maybe somewhere, in another life, they met differently, without ambition standing between them. Without the countdowns, the distance, the sacrifice. He imagines that version of himself, the one who stayed, the one who traded rockets for warmth, the one who chose love over legacy. But that man no longer exists. He buried him beneath launch pads and long nights, under layers of steel and circuitry. Still, the ache remains. Not regret, not entirely. More like a quiet awareness that every great dream demands a toll. And sometimes, that toll is love itself. In his lonelier hours, Elon understands what he couldn't before, that the greatest distance in the universe isn't measured in light years. It's the space between two hearts that once beat together, now out of sync across time. He once thought loss was an ending, but now he knows it's a continuation, a haunting melody that plays softly in the background of every success, every launch, every sunset. Because somewhere between the stars he's reached and the ones he's lost, there lives a truth he can no longer escape. Some loves aren't meant to be conquered, they're meant to be remembered. Memory has a strange way of lingering, like starlight from a sun that burned out long ago. Even after the fire is gone, the glow remains. Elon doesn't live in the past, but the past lives in him, in fragments, in flashes of laughter that echo through sterile laboratories, in the way the sunlight filters through a glass window at dawn, reminding him of mornings that no longer belong to him. He tells himself he has moved on. That progress leaves no room for nostalgia. But sometimes, as he sits in the silence of another long night, he catches the faint pulse of memory, steady, rhythmic, inescapable, like gravity. It doesn't ask for permission, it just pulls. There are moments when he returns to the beginning, the boy with sketches on his desk and stars in his eyes, believing that everything broken could be rebuilt, that everything lost could be found if only he reached high enough. That faith built empires, but it also built walls. He remembers the first prototype he ever held, cold metal trembling in his hands, humming like a newborn heartbeat. The spark of life born from isolation. It should have felt like triumph, but instead it felt familiar, like déjà vu, like holding something fragile you know will one day break. He used to think creation was his escape, but now he realizes it was his memory manifesting. Each invention, each mission, each design was a way to rebuild what life had taken. He wasn't chasing the future. He was trying to remember something pure from before the noise began. Some nights, he replays old recordings not of launches or interviews, but of quiet things, laughter at dinner, footsteps in the hall, the sound of rain on the roof, little fragments that tether him to humanity, to her, to himself. There's a room in his home no one enters but him. Inside, everything stays untouched, a museum of echoes. A coffee mug, still chipped at the rim, a book she left half read, a photograph faded at the edges. He doesn't visit often, but when he does, it's not to grieve, it's to listen. Because in those objects, he hears time speaking, whispering that even progress cannot erase the human need to remember. The mind forgets, but the soul doesn't. And his soul, for all its brilliance, its logic, its invention still aches for the warmth that machines can't simulate. He's learned that memory is not the enemy of progress, it's its foundation. The reason he builds, the reason he dreams, the reason he can't stop reaching it, all traces back to love. Love in its purest, simplest form, wanting something or someone to last forever. Sometimes, he stands beneath the desert sky, the launch pads quiet, the horizon asleep, The air hums with the ghosts of the rockets that once rose from here. And for a moment, it feels like he can hear them, not the machines, but the memories, whispering, calling him back. In those moments, he understands something profound, that memory and gravity are the same, both invisible, both inescapable, both pulling us toward what we've lost, so we never forget who we are. And maybe that's why he keeps building, not to escape Earth, but to find it again in himself, in the echoes, in the memory that still burns quietly, somewhere behind the stars. Because no matter how far he travels, or how much he creates, there is one truth he can never unlearn. The future only matters if you remember what you were building it for. For years, Elon thought connection was found through progress, through shared vision, shared goals, shared futures. But somewhere along the way, he realized that connection isn't about building something together. It's about feeling something together. There was a time when every success brought applause. Now, it brings silence. Because the further he reached into the cosmos, the further he drifted from the quiet simplicity of being known, truly known. Not as the visionary, not as the mind behind the machines, but as the man who sometimes can't sleep, who stares at the ceiling, wondering if love still remembers his name. He's met countless faces, shaken countless hands, heard his name in rooms he'll never enter again. And yet, in all that noise, what he longs for most is stillness, the kind that only comes when someone looks at you and sees past everything the world has made you become. He's learned that connection is not found in expansion, it's found in pause. In the moments when ambition stops breathing for just a second, and you realize that all the rockets, satellites, and achievements mean nothing if there's no one to share the silence with. Sometimes, during long flights home, when the night stretches endlessly beyond the plane window, he watches the city lights below tiny constellations of human stories. Each light a home, a heartbeat, a life. And he wonders, has he been chasing the stars when all along the stars were right here in the people he never stopped missing? He thinks of the workers who stay late in the factories, their laughter echoing through the metallic halls. Of a child once handing him a drawing of Mars with a simple message scribbled beneath it. "Make it beautiful, Mr. Musk." That drawing still sits on his desk. It reminds him that the world isn't waiting for another invention. It's waiting for more humanity in the ones who invent. Connection isn't grand. It's quiet. It's someone remembering how you take your coffee. It's the text that says, "I'm proud of you," even when the world already knows your name. It's the look in someone's eyes that says, "You don't have to be Elon Musk right now. You can just be you." He's realizing now that maybe humanity doesn't need more speed, it needs more stillness. More moments where we stop reaching for galaxies and start reaching for each other. The irony of it all hits him like a whisper. He built machines to connect the world, yet somewhere along the way, he disconnected from his own heart. But lately, something's changing. The silence that once felt like isolation now feels like invitation. To listen, to feel, to rebuild the bridge between who he was and who he became. Maybe connection was never lost, just buried beneath the noise. And maybe, just maybe, every rocket he sent into the sky was really a signal not to other planets, but to the person he once loved, to the people he's yet to meet, to the part of himself still waiting to come home. In the end, connection isn't about the data we transmit or the missions we complete. It's about the energy that passes silently between two hearts, unseen, unmeasured, but undeniably real. And as he stands once more beneath the open sky, the hum of the earth vibrating softly under his feet, he feels something rare. Not loneliness, not ambition, but presence. For the first time in a long time, he isn't looking up or ahead. He's simply here. And in that stillness, he whispers to himself not as a man chasing galaxies, but as a soul remembering how to feel. Perhaps the greatest connection I'll ever make is learning to reconnect with life itself. Every dream comes with a toll. Every star reached demands something left behind. Elon has always known this, though he didn't understand what it truly meant until the silence between victories became heavier than the victories themselves. The world sees the triumphs, the launches, the brilliance that cracks open new frontiers. But what the world will never see are the moments he's traded away, the birthdays missed, the dinners gone cold, the words left unsaid. They call it progress. He calls it the price. Sometimes, he stands before the glow of a screen late into the night, surrounded by blueprints and equations, and wonders if the future he's building will ever know the names of the ones who made it possible, or the ones who were lost along the way. He remembers the people who walked with him for a season, then faded quietly into memory, not because love failed, but because time demanded too much. There's a loneliness in that truth, realizing that to move humanity forward, he had to stand still in his own life. He once thought sacrifice was noble, a kind of offering to the greater good. But now, it feels more like a haunting, because every innovation carries a ghost. A laugh he'll never hear again, a touch that slipped away while he was busy chasing eternity. There are nights he walks through his lab in silence, the machines asleep, the hum of electricity soft as a heartbeat. He touches the metal, the circuits, the wires, all of them alive because of the life he's poured into them. Yet he can't ignore the irony. To give life to the future, he had to silence parts of himself that once felt alive. He has built things that outlast him, ships that will travel beyond the reach of memory, but who will remember the man who built them? Will anyone know that behind the code, the steel, and the fire, there was once a man who loved too deeply, lost too quietly, and gave too much? He thinks of the myth of Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun. Everyone remembers the fall, but no one talks about the beauty of the flight. Perhaps sacrifice isn't tragedy. Perhaps it's love in its purest, fiercest form, the willingness to burn for something greater than yourself. Still, in his quietest hours, he wonders, how much of himself can he give before there's nothing left to return to? How much must a man lose before the world finally understands what he was trying to save? Sometimes, he dreams of another life, one where he stayed home more, where laughter filled the walls instead of silence. He imagines holding a child's hand, watching sunsets without counting minutes, whispering, "I love you," without checking his phone. It's a life he'll never live, but one he carries inside a parallel existence that hums beneath the noise of progress. He knows humanity will one day look back and call this era transformation. They'll see the brilliance, the breakthroughs, the impossible made real. But they won't see the tears shed in the shadows, the loneliness behind the equations, the quiet ache of the man who built the bridge but could not walk across it. And maybe that's the truth of all great sacrifice, that the world remembers the light but forgets the flame that birthed it. Still, he does not regret it, because somewhere deep inside, he knows love and sacrifice are the same force, spoken in different tongues. He built rockets to touch the stars, but maybe what he was really trying to do was send a piece of himself home. There comes a moment in every life and every lifetime when the noise fades, when even the hum of machines, the roar of rockets, the heartbeat of progress all dissolve into something quieter, something sacred. For Elon, that moment didn't arrive with applause or discovery. It came in stillness one late night, staring at the stars through reinforced glass, his reflection merging with the cosmos beyond. For the first time, he didn't see an inventor or a visionary staring back. He saw a soul tired, luminous, and finally learning to breathe again. He once believed transcendence meant leaving Earth behind, but now he knows transcendence is returning to it, with eyes that finally understand what it means to belong. The man who reached for the stars now sees the beauty of a single heartbeat. The engineer who mastered machines now marvels at the perfection of imperfection, the chaos that makes us human. All his life, he chased immortality through invention, but now he realizes peace isn't in conquering the infinite. It's in accepting the fragile miracle of the moment you're already in. He walks outside as dawn begins to touch the horizon. No launch pads, No cameras, just wind. The air is cold, real, alive. The world hums beneath his feet, not as a system to be optimized, but as a living thing that has always loved him back, even when he forgot how to feel it. He thinks about everything he's built, everything he's lost, everything he's still trying to understand. And for the first time, he doesn't feel small under the stars. He feels one with them. Because transcendence, he's learned, isn't about rising above the world. It's about sinking deep enough into your own soul that the world finally meets you there. He remembers every silence, every heartbreak, every failure, not as pain, but as prayer. Each one a step toward clarity, each one a note in the quiet symphony of becoming. He once spoke to the universe through rockets and engines. Now, he speaks through silence, and the universe answers, not with sound, but with peace. Maybe that's what enlightenment truly is. Not the absence of struggle, but the understanding that even the struggle was sacred. He looks up again, and for the first time in a long time, he doesn't wish to go anywhere. Not Mars, not beyond, just here. This breath, this sky, this heartbeat. For so long, he thought the future was out there, somewhere hidden among the constellations, waiting to be reached. But the truth reveals itself in a whisper that only stillness can hear. The infinite was never above you, Elon. It was always within you. And in that revelation, something finally releases. The tension of a lifetime, the weight of a destiny, the ache of everything he's ever lost. He doesn't need to build heaven anymore. He's standing in it. The stars no longer call to him the way they used to, not because they've dimmed, but because he's finally learned how to listen without needing to chase. For the first time, Elon isn't building, fixing, or reaching. He's simply being a rare peace settling over him like cosmic dust. There's no countdown, no mission control, no urgency humming beneath his ribs. Only breath, only presence. He once lived in perpetual motion, afraid that stillness meant falling behind. But now, in the quiet of his own company, he realizes stillness is not the absence of progress, it's the presence of peace. He sits outside, long after the world has gone to sleep. The sky above him is infinite black, endless, alive, and yet it doesn't make him feel small anymore. It makes him feel held. The same stars that once symbolized distance now feel like companions, ancient witnesses to his rise, his loss, his becoming. There was a time he feared endings, but endings, he's learned, are just beginnings in disguise. Every silence, every heartbreak, every lonely orbit has led him here to this quiet acceptance that not everything needs to be understood or achieved. Some things are meant only to be felt. He thinks of her not with sorrow now, but with gratitude. She taught him that love doesn't vanish. It transforms. It travels through time, through space, through memory like light from a star long gone, still shining across the darkness. He understands now that connection doesn't die with distance. It becomes eternal through remembrance. The man who once built rockets to escape gravity now cherishes it. Because gravity, he realizes, isn't what holds us down. It's what keeps us close. To the earth, to each other, to the moments that matter. He looks at his hands, the same hands that forged machines, shaped futures, defied limits. They tremble slightly now, but there's no regret in them, only awe. Because these hands didn't just build, they reached. They loved. They tried. He smiles softly, almost imperceptibly, as if sharing a secret with the stars. He's no longer chasing immortality through invention. He's found it in something far simpler. The echo of kindness, the warmth of love given freely, the quiet courage to forgive himself for being human. The night grows still. The air hums with a kind of holiness, not the kind found in temples or texts, but in awareness. He realizes that the universe was never asking him to conquer it. It was inviting him to feel it. And in that realization, Elon Musk, the man who touched the edge of the infinite, finally exhales. The stars above remain silent. But this time, the silence doesn't ache. It heals, because he understands now that silence was never empty. It was full of memory, of love, of every unanswered prayer whispered into the night. He closes his eyes, not to escape, but to rest, to let the universe hold him the way he once tried to hold the world. And somewhere, between one heartbeat and the next, the man who once reached for the stars finally becomes one with them. Fade out, somewhere beyond time and circuitry, beyond the noise of invention and the silence of space, there lives a man who once believed he could engineer his way out of loneliness. But Elon has learned that even among the stars, the human heart remains the final frontier. He has seen the edge of creation, the moment where light becomes memory, and understood that love, like gravity, never disappears. It only changes form. The same force that holds galaxies together is the same one that keeps two souls connected, even when they drift through different worlds. Perhaps that is what destiny truly is, not a place we arrive, but a recognition. The quiet knowing that somewhere, someone was written into your orbit long before you were born. And no matter the distance, the silence, or the time between lifetimes, your souls will find each other again. He looks to the stars, not as destinations now, but as reminders that every light we see is a love that refused to die. Every dawn is proof that endings can still become beginnings. And so, he sets down his tools, closes the door, and whispers a final truth into the night. Some connections are eternal. Some promises outlive the body that made them. And somewhere, across this vast, forgiving universe, love is still waiting. If this spoke to your heart, stay a while. There's more waiting in the silence.